Hi.
Good morning. Nice afternoon sun coming through your window. Oh, I just have to have a laugh. This is great.
I really have to get out of these clothes. Okay.
How are you, everyone?
Hi.
Thank you for joining us.
Yes,
Thank you.
I'm already feeling a sense of family with those who are called to join and listen in on these.
Yeah, me too. I'm
That's
feeling, you know, by you participating in these lessons, you're healing us.
yes,
So we're kissing your feet. Thank you very, very much.
definitely, definitely.
Uh, Great. So we're up to lesson 49 today. God's
Wow.
voice, yeah, God's voice speaks to me all through the day.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I think this is a really good one, sis. I mean, being a facilitator for the TTC, a common question for those who are participating in our 12-month curriculum, a question often is, how do I know when it's the Holy Spirit or the voice for God or the ego? And it's amazing to know that our right mind, the holy self, the mind that we share with God, is in constant communion or communication with God. That's an unbroken communication. But when the mind seemed to fall asleep and we replace our thought system with the ego, then we're in amnesia. We're not remembering, we're not communing, we're not thinking with God, we're not living with God, we're asleep. And so we've got this ego that sounds like the voice in our head, and it's very familiar to us, and we trust it implicitly until we start getting smart to its ways, and we've reached the recognition that this world is starting that it holds nothing that we want, and it's a big cheat and it hurts, and I want a better way. So we start getting these glimpses of Holy Spirit and direction, but oftentimes our fear of that light and the truth, it'll startle us so much that we say, oh, I can't hear the voice for God, or why can't I hear it? That's the ego's resistance to it and the fear of God in our mind. But as we heal our mind, we will prepare and make more room for it because we'll desire it more. But in the beginning, it's sort of hit and miss. Like, well, what was that? Well, this lesson beautifully characterizes or describes the feeling state that accompanies when it's Holy Spirit versus perhaps a spiritualized ego that might try and lead us astray. So it's
Mm,
very helpful.
it is, it is. And, just to add to that too, uh, it's not just a voice that we hear.
Right.
Some of us may hear Holy Spirit like an internal voice.
Mm-hmm.
I think that most of us probably get like insights,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Aha moments or
Yes.
soft nudges,
Yeah.
sometimes even external signs.
Mm-hmm.
We're driving along the road
Mm-hmm.
and a sign says check in,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we're like, oh,
Oh,
holy, there's Holy Spirit right there saying, be present, check in with me, you
mhm.
know, the Holy Self, the Holy Spirit.
That's great.
And, or we may be listening to a song
Mhm.
that we've heard many, many times before. And suddenly the lyrics
Mhm.
like just leap out and we can feel a spark of emotion coming up. And when that happens, you can
Mm.
be sure Holy Spirit's speaking to us, right?
Yeah, or sometimes it'll happen through our brother or sister. Like the message will come through and you'll be like, oh my gosh, that was so for me. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank
Oh,
you.
lots of different ways.
Any way that will open up, right?
Yeah.
Any way that will give them a trusting area. Some people use numerology or astrology or cards or pendulums or whatever. Those are helpful means until we have enough trust that it's a one-on-one, right? It's a direct.
Direct. Yeah. Yeah. Holy Spirit uses everything in the ego dream if we allow him
Yes.
um, to bring us home. So he divinely repurposes even the crap in the dream, right? I couldn't think of a nicer word, sorry. He does everything. It's wonderful. Okay, lesson 49, God's voice speaks to me all through the day. It is quite possible to listen to God's voice all through the day without interrupting your regular activities in any way. The part of your mind in which truth abides is in constant communication with God, whether you're aware of it or not. It is the other part of your mind that functions in the world and obeys the world's laws. Did I read that right?
Yes.
It is this part that is constantly distracted, disorganized, and highly uncertain. And I would add to that, fearful, and controlling. So the part that is listening to the voice for God is calm, always at rest, and I love this, wholly certain. So there's no self-doubt happening in it, right? It is really the only part that there is. The other part of your mind is a wild illusion, frantic and distraught, but without reality of any kind. Try today not to listen to it. Try to identify with the part of your mind where stillness and peace reign forever. Try to hear God's voice call to you lovingly, reminding you that the Creator has not forgotten his Son. We will need at least 4 5-minute practice periods today and more if possible. We will try actually to hear God's voice, reminding you of him and of yourself. I just would like to say here, he's saying, we will try to hear God's voice. I would say, it's more about feeling God's voice. Sure, we may hear it, but we may also feel it, right? Yeah. Reminding you of him and yourself. We will approach this happiest and holiest of thoughts with confidence, knowing that in doing so, we are joining our will with the will of God. He wants you to hear his voice. He gave it to you to be heard.
I remember when it dawned on me that my desire for God is the same as God's desire for me. It's like God's calling to us and wants his completion, like through our communion with him. Come back, awaken, be present with me fully. So we're just aligning our will with God's will. And since God's will's already done, then that's the source of our confidence.
So all we need to do is accept it.
That's right.
But we can't accept it in fear.
No, fear. The thought of fear is the way that we deny the will of God. So
we use fear to block the will of God.
That's right.
Okay. Yep. Okay, so paragraph 4, listen in deep silence. Be very still and open your mind. Go past all the raucous shrieks and sick imaginings that cover your real thoughts and obscure your eternal link with God. Sink deep into the peace that waits for you beyond the frantic, riotous thoughts and sights and sounds of this insane world. You do not live here.
Woohoo!
Oof. We're trying to reach your real home. We are trying to reach a place where you are truly welcome. We are trying to reach God. Do not forget to repeat today's idea very frequently. God's voice speaks to me all through the day. Do so with your eyes open when necessary, but closed when possible. And be sure to sit quietly and repeat the idea for today whenever you can, closing your eyes on the world and realizing that you're inviting God's voice to speak to you.
What happens when we hear God's voice? All of the layers of amnesia, uncertainty, and forgetfulness that the ego wanted to employ dissolves in that moment. God's voice is the memory of what we are, and nothing can withhold or withstand the voice for God, the memory of home. So the ego is going to be very vigilant in its resistance through distraction, sleepiness, finding things to do, laundry, what's for dinner, right? Just notice that every time we take an attempt to reach God directly, notice the resistance that comes up, that it's not yours. And also listen, the way that you're trying to reach your real home is done in deep silence with a very still and open mind, sinking into peace. That's the means right there. It's not trying, striving, stressing, or self-judgment. It's in a deep silence, in peace, that we can transcend all the ego's surface noise, go below that, where we can reach the memory of God. Okay.
Beautiful. Thank you, sis. And remember that we've got 2 links appearing at the end of this video. One is a blog post, and the other one is it?
Nope.
It this? No, it's not. Sorry. Forgive me.
Okay.
Okay.
That was nothing. There's nothing to fear. So
Okay.
that was
okay. So we have no links.
no links.
Homework.
No homework this time. Just the assignment, just to practice this with diligence throughout the day. Yeah.
Good.
How exciting. God's waiting. Lesson 49. God's voice speaks to me all through the day.
Thank
Love
you, sis.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you, everyone. See you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.